I refuse to go on family vacation because my sister wants me to babysit. I'm Al, and I'm 40 years old. My sister is Greta. She's 43, married to a really good guy, Darren, aged 45, and they have 6-year-old triplets who I love dearly and play with as often as I can. I'm one of those lucky guys who joined the military when I was 18, made 21 years, and decided to retire while my knees were still good. I was in combat arms, and 21 years of running around fighting in different countries was a challenge, but it's nothing compared to 3 rowdy adolescents who have all of that boundless energy. 3 years ago, I was still considering finding work in the civilian sector, so I had a little extra free time on my hands. I'd visit my sister at her house, a really nice one way out of my pay grade, and while she'd run errands or go with Darren to business functions, keep an eye on the boys. Being family, I never even thought about charging her, but from time to time she'd hand me some pizza money, and boy, the guys loved that. My mom and dad are very energetic people for their age and enjoy retirement as well. As a result, they created an annual family vacation where me, Greta, and the boys would accompany them to fun places like Disneyland, the mountains, beaches, or other touristy places. During the first year, Greta had lined up a whole bunch of fun activities for herself and our parents, and since the boys were only 4, we opted to let them hang out with me back at the hotel, which wasn't bad since it had a great kiddie pool and other fun things. I'd run the boys ragged, and when the folks and Greta returned, they were met with tired kids. But on that same trip, I noticed that they had pretty much excluded me from going out to do anything in the daytime, and I wasn't really one for nightclubs or the party scene. But I loved the guys, and we had a ton of fun. However, during the next vacay, I saw that they were trying to lock me down with the kids again, and I told them that I wasn't having it. My sister tried to insist that I take care of the guys because I was so good with them, but I said no. I'm on vacation, get a nanny, find a babysitter, leave them with your husband. I want to actually relax this time. My sister, who, prior to marrying Darren, worked as a county supervisor and is now a stay-at-home mom, called our mom and dad and squealed on me. She told them that I wasn't planning to enjoy being with the boys during their annual vacation. Of course, she made it sound as if I was committing a felony. Surprisingly, they both told her that it wasn't fair for me to take care of the boys while they ran around doing whatever they wanted. They also pointed out that for months since I left the service, she'd been getting free daycare and knew that since she was a stay-at-home mom, I didn't really have to babysit. Keep that point in mind for later. Now, I usually do not use social media. While the military doesn't prevent people from using it, it just wasn't my thing. But when my sister wasn't tending to the kids, she'd be writing about her luxurious lifestyle, the latest items she'd buy, of course, vacations, and other things. So as it turns out, she wrote something about me being a bad uncle because I did not want to take care of my nephews during the upcoming family vacation. For a week, I was clueless, and during that time, I was still coming over and playing with the boys after they left kindergarten. But that changed when one of my former troops, who stayed in touch with me, sent me an email. In the email, he sent me a photo of my sister's social media page, featuring me holding the triplets, one on each leg and one on my back, having a great time. But the caption read, "My brother, the war hero, is nothing but a big wussy, crying about having to take care of his nephews on vacation." He also sent some of the comments, and the comments sided with her, saying it was a family obligation to take care of my sister's rugrats. I went to her house. I knocked on the door. She came to the door, opened it, and I brushed past her. I opened my iPhone and showed her the page. Now, my sister is not a stupid person, but she does have a habit of doing things and not thinking them through. I said, "Why are you posting my private life on social media?" Just for the record, I'm 6'1" and a solid 200 pounds. My sister is a squishy 5'7" and probably 140. When we were in school, periodically, she'd bully me around. That changed when I hit puberty. But of course, I was no danger to her then either. But I was pissed, and she knew she was in trouble. But she tried to be defiant. She said, "Oh, relax. It was just a joke. I was just letting off some steam." I looked at her, showed her the same look that I gave new recruits coming into the service for the first time. "Take it down," I said. She gasped, ran to the living room where her laptop was open, pulled up the page, and deleted the entry. I said menacingly, "Don't ever post photos of me online for any reason. Got it?" She nodded, and I left. Once again, she ran to Mommy and Daddy, saying that I threatened her. Dad, who also did some time in the military, was amused. He could imagine what I looked like when I told her to take me offline. But Mom was like, "Oh, poor baby. You know he wasn't going to hurt you." She was sympathetic. So Dad called me, we talked, and we laughed about it. Unfortunately, my sister didn't just know when to quit. She tried to do one of those anonymous postings, complaining about how a family member threatened to hurt her for posting photos without permission. Now, this particular social media had some kind of discussion forum for each posting. I still don't know what that is. Someone is posting this for me. And her posting received a lot of hits and comments, again, most of them sympathizing with her, calling me a bully and a man who only feels brave when he intimidates women. But once again, she made the mistake of using fictional names, but actually described our last vacation and me to a T. And several of my social media addicts who loved that page saw that posting, put two and two together, and I got more emails with screenshots of that posting. But this time, I didn't say anything to my sister. I just looked at the screenshots, closed my phone, and went to bed. Fast forward 2 months later, and it was nearing time for the annual family vacation again. We were at Mom and Dad's house. Greta and the boys were there, and the boys, now 5, were doing their usual thing, running around, playing with the dogs, and having fun. I pulled into the driveway, stepped out of my SUV, and found myself gang-tackled by my favorite guys. Greta was looking at me, a smirk on her face. "It's about time," she said, as I walked up the driveway, the boys in tow. "Where's your luggage?" I looked at her, smiled, and said, "Not going. Just came to say hi to Ma and Pa. Taking a solo vacation this year." Her face dropped in shock. She had enough frame of mind to ask, "Who's going to look after the boys?" "Not my problem," I said. One of the guys heard me, pulled on my shirt, and said, "Uncle Al, you aren't coming this time?" I took him and the other guys aside and said, "Uncle Al hasn't had a vacation by himself in a long time. You know we have a lot of fun even when we don't go on vacation." The boys all nodded. "I'll make it up to you guys when I come back, okay?" And then I gave them all a big hug. The boys were fine. Greta wasn't. She spluttered, "Whose? Why?" I opened my phone again. This time, I showed her the screenshots of her anonymous posting. I looked at her and said, "Sometimes I wonder if you actually have any brain cells. You just lost your babysitter. Oh, and by the way, I had a conversation with Darren. He wants to know what you did with the extra money you told him you were going to pay me for watching the kids. Hope you have an answer for him. Then I walked into the house. Mom and Dad were just bringing down their luggage when I walked in. I had spoken to them earlier, so they knew what the deal was. Mom wasn't too happy about it, but Dad understood. I loved my mom more than life itself, and I didn't like disappointing her, but like I'd said to them earlier, Greta just stays at home, and her husband makes plenty of money, so she can hire someone to look after the boys. I then told them that she'd been taking money that Darren had given her to show his appreciation for me being there for the boys. I mean, I'd taken care of them when they went out to dinner or had important get-togethers with his company, etc. And Darren was of the opinion that a man or woman's time should be paid for. But I hadn't asked for any money since my retirement was more than enough for me to live on. Greta walked in just as I was telling them. If looks could unalive someone, Greta's guts would be decorating the kitchen walls. My parents lit into her, and while she tried to deny it, I said, "I've got Darren on speed dial. We can ask him." She clamped her mouth shut. My dad thought that they should cancel the family vacation, but I suggested to him that maybe they could rearrange their itinerary to have more kid-related activities, and he agreed to modify the plan. One more thing I said to Greta. I'm going to start looking into this social media stuff. Stop posting stuff about me. Or what? Greta said, trying to be defiant. The boys will never see Uncle Al again. That's what, I said quietly, and you'll have to explain why. I gave Mom a hug and a kiss, shook Dad's hand, and left. Social media is addicting, but so far I've only set up one social media site that allows me to see other veterans doing their thing. I'd rather read a book or go get some exercise. But I see how people can be drawn to it. My guys back in the service who are media hounds monitor all of Greta's accounts, and so far she's kept me off of her pages. But she did post some photos of her and the boys at Universal Studios in Florida, so the guys had a great time. But Darren did address Greta when she returned from Florida. He wasn't happy about her keeping most of the money she was supposed to be giving me. I told him not to worry about it, but he's an honorable man. I received a check for $20,000, covering the 2 years in which I've been babysitting the guys, and Greta's monthly allowance was cut down to 25%. My understanding was that until the deficit was covered, she was repaying him. I hope that you enjoyed this story, and please come back for other fun stories that may or may not have made it to Reddit. AI stories read by a real human. Have a great day.